it's great speaking to you, man. Look, before we start, you had a chance to show this to me before we started. You got to show everybody what you got right by your shoulder over there, man.
Right, yeah. So this was a giant marketing material I created. It's like a giant flyer. I just felt during the pandemic, no one wanted to take a flyer. So you know what? We'll just have one giant one and just be like, oh, hey, check it out. And so I've been using like this type of guerrilla marketing strategy, showing up at big events and being like, hey, check us out.
And you know what? They got to check us out, man, because we are back. What's happening, man?
Yeah, things are great. This is the real busy time of my summer where I get to work with the Beaches Jazz Fest on this year for 3 major events. One is this all 90s event, and then I'm also working on 2 nights, which is like Toronto's premier house music festival.
Yeah, you know, before we go into what's going on with the 90s, what is going on with the Jazz Festival? Because I actually just spoke with an artist earlier, and one of the things that we brought up was that the Jazz Festival itself has changed so much because the last couple of years, funk, R&B, soul, bringing back some of the best artists from back in the day. And you going, wait a minute, this is a jazz festival. It's becoming more of a traditional music festival of some of the greatest genres out there that we grew up with.
Well, I can't speak to the overall direction, but I just think that, you know, jazz festivals in general realize that they need to broaden their appeal. So they're doing, you know, hip hop, they're doing, you know, DJs, they're bringing back different elements. I mean, I think there's elements of jazz typically in almost all these types of music. Is it, you know, straight up, you know, jazz from the 30s? No. But I think there's elements, and I think, you know, so one of the events that I'm bringing is this guy, Mark Farina, who is a house artist. Well, where does he fit in with jazz? Well, turns out he had been producing a series of compilations called Mushroom Jazz all through the 90s, where he incorporated live instruments and jazzy guitars and horns into like a house hybrid. So he's known for Mushroom Jazz from compilation album that he did. It was in the same vein as, say, like Saint Germain. So while he's not necessarily considered a jazz artist, there's a jazz element to his music.
I love it, man. You know, when I think about with music and genres and eras and times, and I want to make sure I say this because I don't want to insult anybody. This is just my opinion. When it came to 60s, 70s, especially for me growing up, 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was an authentic sound. Things were growing, things were changing. Artists really had a voice. Artists were telling stories that were never told before in such a way. And I feel like that was the 90s was the last part of great music, meaning, of course, the imagination, the vocal talent. What do you think it is when we talk about the 90s and why we love it so much? And that, for me, is one of my personal reasons in why there was this almost like the last special era when it came to that authentic music.
Yeah, no, I can totally appreciate that. I mean, I think you and I are probably biased because we grew up while this was like the most current music and probably the most important part of our life where we're like it's discovering the world. And this is the soundtrack to like help us understand how the world works. So I think we both have this, you know, innate kinship to that sound. But I agree, back then, music was telling a story that was, you know, sort of against, you know, the government and saying just sort of some truth. And today, I think are maybe a little more shy about actually talking about something too political. People are a little bit more reserved. They don't want to really talk about the rough and tumble stories they've had. You know, they're trying to get their music, you know, the big licensing opportunities. They want to cash in on the sponsorship. Back then, it was like, keep that at bay. There's a element of like, you know, this is our sound and we're not selling out. But now making it is called selling out. So I think there's a different aspect of that time. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of, you know, all the hip hop that came out of there and all the grunge music. And the 90s is back. Like the Tea Party and I Mother Earth are back on tour, Big Sugar, like all the classic acts. I just went and saw Noel Gallagher from Oasis. So there's like, I think there's a big push now. The 90s was what is akin to our parents who dug the 60s music, and we always appreciated what they had. But the 90s is like our, our sound and from our generation.
And how are you bringing that back, my friend? Because you're doing it in one of the most iconic areas in the city. What is happening, man?
Well, okay, so we got Master T from Da Mix, Extended Mix, Rap City from the 90s and Much Music. He's going to be our MC. We got Starting From Scratch, who's one of Toronto's, probably Canada's best DJs. He's a master of Twitch. He's Russell Peters' DJ. He's friends with every hip hop artist across the globe. He'll be laying down with his party, Get On Up. He's got a crew of MCs and hosts that will be on the mic. That's combined with Mr. Jig and his party, Renaissance, which is Toronto's longest running 90s party. So combined with Master T, Kid Arctic, Benzo doing some hip hopping. I'm going to be on the mic. We're really going to bring back that era. I have a vision where we're going to have people in the audience talking to Master T like it's Much Music Days. What's your favorite song? They're going to be like, I really love No Diggities. And then it'll be like, and then we'll drop it. It's going to be really interactive. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be free. There's going to be craft food and beverages. And it's really about the family affair. Come down, have some ice cream with the family, enjoy the tunes. And it's going to go on from around 6 to 11. 7 is the official start time, but we're going to start some music, a warm up. And it's going to hit it from 7 to 11.
How did you come up with this? I mean, I know you're a busy man. You work hard. This isn't an easy thing to be able to bring people together like this. How did you help come up with all of this and to bring this to us? Because this is like, it's like some treasure that we're getting for the summer.
Yeah. Well, so there's some serendipity. I had worked with Starting From Scratch last year at Groovin' in the Park. He was our Saturday night headliner for our house music festival, and people came far and wide for him. That was like our big headliner that year. We didn't really bring too many people from abroad in. It was, our first post-pandemic year. So he was our headliner, and we decided, well, we don't want to bring him back for that. We want to, keep reinventing ourselves. But why don't we get him for something else special? We know he does a 90s throwback night. You know what? Mr. Jigs is a good friend of mine. Why don't we get them together to do something? We'll team up some 90s tribute nights. What about if we got Master T from the 90s? Like, we just could have brought all these elements. I have to give lots of credit to Mr. Jigs, who came up with the idea of bringing Master T in the mix. And I think it was some serendipity of just kind of being in the right place. And I think the vision of the Beaches Jazz to entrust me to program what their main stage at Woodbine Park. So they lay a lot of trust in me, and I take that responsibility, and I try to work really hard and blow the stuff up. So we're hustling it, and I'm going around with my giant poster. I'm handing out flyers. I'm putting up posters. I'm working the socials. We're getting the word out. One fan at a time.
Is this also part of the maybe you didn't even think about it, celebration of 50 years of hip hop? Because that's what we're doing right now. We're celebrating that. And to me, this is a good feel and part of that celebration.
Well, it's interesting. I got a lot of history of doing hip hop shows in Toronto. I brought Gurus, Jazzmatazz. I worked with African Bado over the years. I brought people like Mixed Master Mike's and Grandmaster Flash and Grand Wizard Theodore. So I have a lot of affinity for that old school hip hop sound. So we'll be celebrating that in our own way. I think we're also going to be touching on a lot of the R&B jams that happened in that era. We'll have a little bit for everybody. We'll be hitting on some rock stuff, some R&B, some hip hop, some house music. We're going to be kind of like hitting the gamut. That's like when like dance music exploded too. So there's so much music that kind of exploded at that time. And I think, in today's days, there's just so many genres and so many artists. And I think that explosion of sounds and genres really happened in the 90s.
Okay, so let's talk about the audience themselves too. What can they bring? I mean, because we know weather can be changing. Can they bring umbrellas? Should they bring their own chairs? Like, just to make sure that they're comfortable.
Yeah, so there's a lot of chairs there on site. You can bring your own. There's usually we have set it up so there's a big like dance section. There's a whole
Mhm.
cornered off section, which is like our beer garden. But you can bring your family, pets can be on leashes. There's even a section that's beyond the walls of the fenced in area. There are hills that a lot of people bringing out blankets, lay out there, bring a picnic. There'll also be some food options on site. I would say bring some sunscreen, bring some dancing shoes, you know, bring a towel or to lay down in the sun, and bring your good vibes and open mindedness. And the one thing that, while the music's going to be great, the talent's going to be awesome, the site is great, but the number one thing in this whole thing is the community of like going
Yeah.
out and running into your friends. We've been locked up in Toronto all winter long. This is the time to get out and hang out with some friends, bring your family, get your kids introduced to each other, and really have this like communal feeling. We're going to enjoy the music, but also enjoy each other's company.
Could I add one other thing that I think these folks should do is if you have a classic 90s t-shirt or a
Oh, yeah.
classic 90s hat or even an outfit or something that you can still get into and wear, I think you should bring that down and wear that because I think we all have something still in our closet we refuse to get rid of because we're always saying there's going to be that one moment that I'm going to get a chance to wear it.
Yeah.
This is the time to wear it.
And then if you wear all that stuff, we'll get Master T to do a photo with you and shout out your favorite song on the mic. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. So I've been talking with the production people. We have a giant video wall. We're going to be incorporating some of the music videos from these bands. Master T is going to be up there and bringing people in to be a part of it and talking with the fans about their favorite songs. We're going to be doing stuff on the fly, really feeling the vibes.
Okay, so one more time. Where is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And from what to what is it going to be happening?
Okay, so it's at Woodbine Park on Thursday, July 20th, between 6 and 11 p.m. Showtime's at 7. We're going to have, starting from scratch, Master T, Mr. Jigs, Benzo the Breakdancer, Tim Burr, Kid Arctic, myself, Jay Newfunk, other special guests. It is at Woodbine Park, which is at Eastern and Coxwell, or you can also get it at Kingston Road and Queen Street. So it's the East End of Toronto, part of the Beaches Jazz Festival. You can RSVP at all90s.eventbrite.ca. It's not required, but it helps us to let you to know how well we're doing and getting the people out.
Sounds great, man. Look, congratulations on this. Can you do me one favor? I know this is part of the Beaches Jazz Festival and everything. Can you do a winter thing maybe? Because winter can be so boring sometimes and we need some kind of kick. Can you do something around there for us too?
Well, you know what?
Christmas
I'm
something?
active. I'm active all year. I do a annual Bob Marley birthday tribute. We're bringing in bands at the clubs. I do a New Year's party, a Halloween party. So I'm active year round, and this is one of the ways that I get to bring back, give back to the audience who come pay their price of admission all year round. This is the one time where I get to do a free event and hopefully bring some new, fresh faces into the fold that I can come out and support local Canadian talent in the clubs in the wintertime.
Fair enough, my friend. Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing back the 90s. We certainly need it. It's such a good time.
Oh, Rudy, I appreciate you having me on your show. And then if I can make one last point, I'm doing Grooving in the Park on July 28th and 29th. We have Mark Farina. We have Break for Love. It's going to be your favorite local house DJs. It's a celebration of dance. So that's coming up next. And I really appreciate you giving us a time to shut it out.
Big love, brother. Thanks again.
Rudy.